I'm here with Neal Rosen of Talking Pictures, and you certainly know Neal. He needs no introduction. Time Warner, and he has a fabulous show, long-running show. How many years have you been doing that?
Well, the show's been on weekly for 5 years now, but we started doing it it's been on for 15 years, but the first 10 years it was on like several times a year, like 4 or 5 times a year. But it's been weekly for like almost 5 years now. And it's on New York 1 in New York City, and it's national on, Time Warner Cable, which will soon be Time Warner Cable News, hundreds of stations around the country, which will soon be Spectrum News because they're changing the name. So
to protect the innocent, they always change the name. Like Cablevision changed its name to protect the innocent, right?
there you go.
Great thing. And your sort of take on films is really amazing. You really give it a lot of work. You do a lot of study. And your background, are you a filmmaker yourself? Or did you go to film
I
school?
actually went to school and studied film and communications and English and journalism, and then.
What school, NYU? Or?
No, I went to undergrad. I went to Queens College in SUNY Binghamton, and then with all that information, and I got a job in advertising, which had nothing to do with film because I couldn't immediately get a job as a film critic in New York. But you start writing for little publications, and you get a portfolio, and then you move up to slightly bigger publications that nobody still hasn't heard of, and it's like baby steps, and you move up. But I've been at New York 1 almost 24 years now. So the show is great. I mean, if you watch the show, it's as I said, it's called Talking Pictures on Demand. We do focus on movies that are in theaters, every week, but the primary focus of the movie is to do movies that are on demand. There's 300 movies in your cable box at any given time.
Wow.
And most people are only familiar with a handful of titles like Twilight or...
I keep watching Hercules Unchained over and over again.
That's funny, or Spotlight, or, there's a couple of names that you'd recognize, but there's 90% of it you don't know what the titles are. So we watch 10 movies a week and tell you what's worth watching and what's not worth watching.
I have to ask you, with all that oversaturation, where there's, you can, any movie you'd want to think about, you can get either Hulu or Netflix or,
There's so much out there.
So much out there. In the old days, if a movie escaped you, you had a rough time. You had to wait for Channel 9 $1 million movie to see it. Like,
right,
Mighty
correct.
Joe Young, I watched it a million times.
Right, it's like I got to wait 6 more months. Maybe they'll run it again. Right. I know. Or if you missed the episode of Bonanza, you got to wait till the summer to get the rerun.
Did Horace die or not? That's what I want to know.
Right. What did Lorne Green do this week?
But those shows today would not have any legs to be on.
No.
Because the whole appetite of the nation has changed, don't you think?
Well, I think with with the advent of streaming and DVRs where you can time shift and you don't have to be, married to a schedule that the show, like we were just saying, that the show is on at this particular time. And we're in a golden age of television, the programming on television is great. I know I should be talking about movies, but there's just so much content out there on Netflix, on Amazon Prime, on Hulu, that...
On your iPhone.
Yeah, and then all the stuff that's on demand, and then all the stuff, the countless stuff that's on, on your computer that you can go to websites and watch programming on YouTube and stuff like that, that I don't know how you keep track of all this stuff. That's why I'm saying on my show, we'll focus on the on-demand movies and say, okay, let's try to give you some kind of a map, some kind of a guide to get through this madness, and here's a movie that you probably never heard of, but it's really good, and check that out. And here's a movie that you might have heard of, or even though it has a couple of stars in it, but you're not going to like that one at all, so avoid that one. So we try to help you through every week.
And you guys are accurate, brutally honest, and you have a incredible following. You're dependable, which is amazing.
Thank you.
And the main thing is that sometimes you go on a website or you tune into a film critic, and they're just not like in concert with what's really happening. But you are brutally honest, and
we yell at each other.
Yell at each other all the time.
4 people every week, and I kind of orchestrate the insanity. And right,
no softballs.
No. I encourage people. I encourage the panel to just just mix it up. If somebody says this is a great movie and somebody says I hated this movie, don't be polite. It's just like you don't know what you're talking about.
And you're here every year. I think you've been here as long as we have.
Yeah, it's a great festival.
And if we could just speak a moment about the film festival and the fact that they have an incredible batting average for picking Oscar
I have seen,
nominated
just
films.
if we go back 3 years, the movie that has won Best Picture at the Oscars out here for the last 3 years in a row. Last year I saw Spotlight. The year before that I saw Birdman, and the year before that I saw Argo. And the year before that I think was The King's Speech. So, you know, it's an amazing festival. I mean, first of all, it's so, as opposed to, let's say, the New York Film Festival, which is a good festival, but it's a very different tone to it in the sense that, you know, it's the city, and it's so laid back out here. It's so relaxed. You come out to this festival, and I mean, it's just, even the setting that we're in here at the Maidstone, it's just tranquil, you know, and you go and you just stand on line for a few minutes and you go in, and it's just a calming effect. And you get to see these movies. Most people, you know, when I saw Argo or when I saw Birdman, at that particular point in time, nobody knew what those movies were, you know, so you see them, and then, you know, within a month or two later, you know, they catch on, and then a few months later after that, they win the Oscars. So
Yeah,
it's a great festival.
It's amazing.
And this year there's some really
everybody's approachable. If you're a lover of film, you could walk down Main Street and run into people that are principals in the motion pictures before and behind the lens and in front of the lens, and it's really an amazing thing. So if you love film,
we have an after show podcast also that I'm trying to, if I could plug this. We do the show every week, but after the show, it's called Sitting Around Talking Movies, and it's on Blog Talk Radio, and it's sort of an after show to Talking Pictures, and I'm there with my panel that week, and it's even more laid back than the television show because it's a podcast. It's not a time constraint, although the show's generally about a half an hour, but it's just a more like this Hampton Film Festival. It's a more laid back atmosphere. So Sitting Around Talking Movies is something that you know, you don't even have to watch the TV show to listen to the podcast, because we don't assume that you've seen the TV show. We just say, okay, we talked about this movie on the TV show. Here's what it's about, so you can go in not knowing anything.
But you'd have to say that the most ravenous fans are the New York film fan, right?
New York film fans really know what they're doing. I mean, you know, there's so much available in the city, so there's a savvy film fan. But I think, you know, with what's going on today, as we said, with all these, it's not like 20 years ago where if you want to see an obscure independent film, you have to go to a major city to watch, you know, where they have like the Film Forum that they have in New York, or, you know, an art house. Today, they're all available, you know, on demand or on streaming services. So I think I think you could be a savvy film fan anywhere in the country.
And not leave your bedroom and be all set. Well, Neal, we'll be on the lookout for him. Your website once again.
The show is Talking Pictures. The show is Talking Pictures on Demand, and again, it's on New York One locally in New York, and you can go to ny1.com, or it's national on any Time Warner cable system, soon to be called Spectrum. And the podcast is called Sitting Around Talking Movies, which is an after show to that TV show, and you can get that on Blog Talk Radio, or just go to any search engine and put Sitting Around Talking Movies, and it'll come right up.